Welcome back to the build. Today is a quick video, hopefully. I'm going to try and install the water heater we just got, along with a whole house sediment filter, get all the plumbing connected from the water heater to the pressure tank and get that all ready. Then the only plumbing issues that will remain are hooking up the sinks, the toilets, and the dishwasher, and the garbage disposal, and the pot filler. Yeah, so today's water heater. So I've already started, but this is the whole house filter I'm putting in. This is an A.O. Smith I got at Lowe's. I had one of these similar at the old house, and it worked really well. So that's what we're going to do this time. Everything is going to be hooked up with PEX fittings. So we got a nice assortment of all of the stuff we're going to need. Got some valves, elbows, T-fittings, you know, all your regular PEX stuff. Okay, over here in the corner where our water system will be, you've probably seen in prior videos where we brought the pressure tanks into the house from the well house. When we put the new well pump in a couple months ago, I had them go ahead and add an additional tank. And we stacked them one on top of the other inside the house so that they pressurize and depressurize equally. Gives us a little bit more drawdown capacity. So far it's been working very well. We only use this when we hook up this cable to the generator to run the well pump to get water every once in a while. But today we're going to hook up this bad boy. This is the A.O. Smith 50-gallon hybrid heat pump water heater from Lowe's. These are super efficient. They cost about $100 to $114 a year in electricity to run because the top part is basically a heat pump. So it draws warm air in from the room and uses that to heat the water much more efficiently than using electrical resistance coils, which are 4,500 watts each, and there are two in there as a backup. And there are basically three modes this thing runs in. It'll run in full heat pump mode, which is the most efficient. It'll run in full electrical mode, which is the least efficient, but it heats water very quickly. And then there's a vacation mode and some other stuff that we probably won't use. The only drawback to these really is that they do produce a little bit of noise because you got a fan in there, and basically it's a miniature air conditioner. So no problem, because we're in the basement with 8-inch thick reinforced concrete walls. Sound should not be a terrible issue. So let me show you kind of my game plan here. I've got, I took a piece of plywood, 3/4 inch, painted it, mounted it to the wall there. And we got to come off this tank T. Water comes in from outside there. It splits off between the bottom tank and the top tank, and pressure, water goes in here. This is hard to see, sorry. Here's our pressure switch that drives the pump. Pressure comes down, flips the switch, turns on the pump, fills all the tanks. This is capped off right here. This is going to be the main water supply, cold water supply to the house from the tanks. So we'll come over here a few inches, make a 90, and then go to that spot. Sorry about it being blurry. It's hard to shoot. And then we're going to go into our whole house sediment filter, which I've already started putting together here. This is the top, and I put 2 ball valves on it so you can isolate it to change the filter that goes on the bottom. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm going to mount this to that board, see where we're at. Disclaimer, I'm not a plumber. I just play one on YouTube. If you need to do this and you don't know how to do it and you're not comfortable with it, get yourself a plumber. I'm going to pre-drill some holes for the hanging bracket for the filter. All right, I'm using some 1.25 inch screws, pretty heavy duty, recycled from some other place, who knows where they came from, but glad I had them. And 1-inch washer, just so it bites and holds. Take our little filter assembly here and just screw it into the holes we just pre-drilled. money. All right. Perfect. Perfect. On, off. It's got a button on top so you can depressurize. Take your filter canister off, replace your filter, put it back on, turn your supply lines back on. Cool. Got to go over here and do a 90 into the tank. I'm going to do that absolutely last because this has pressure, there's water in it. The guys are outside doing stucco and they need to use the hose. Okay, so my water heater is going to be right in this area. I'm going to come straight off here into a T-fitting so that the cold water will go down into the water heater and up for the cold water supply. And then I'll put a valve down here to isolate the water heater from the cold water supply so that you can shut the water heater off and still have cold water supply to the house. So we're gonna make up a T-fitting for that, and probably it's only gonna come to right there, and then it'll tee off. Okay, next we got the T-fitting. This is a 3/4 by 3/4 by 3/4 T-fitting. Again, this is all PEX fittings, Shark Bite brand. So we'll come off the filter. We'll probably do a 2-inch piece here, so let's cut that. These fittings, you got about 5/8. So 5/8 is 1 inch. So if we do 2 inches, let's do 2.5 inches, just to give it a little bit of room to breathe. All right, got your pipe cutters here. Put it on about 2.5. Cut it. 3/4 inch copper crimp ring. Stick that on there. Put that on there. Make sure we're good. Good. You want about 1/8 to 1/4 of pipe sticking beyond the crimp ring. About like yay. Ring. Put that on there. Crimpy crimp. Okay, take a valve. Let's see, this is going to be oriented as such. Crimpy crimp. Perfect. Okay, now we're ready to put this onto the filter. On, off. All right, now we'll put our assembly onto here. Okay. Okay, so there's the stub outs for the whole house. There's the hot water, there's the cold water. I'm gonna bring the cold water over, do a 90, come straight down, and go into the top of that T-fitting. All right. So I got an outlet here that I'll use for the condensate pump, because you need a condensate pump if you don't have a floor drain, because it's a heat pump. Get this thing kind of squared up with the wall. Pretty good. I've got a couple of water heater connector hoses. We'll make sure we're close enough where we can get these oriented the way we want. Pressure relief valve, temperature and pressure relief valve. A couple little pieces of insulation for the hot water pipe, which is a good idea. This will remind me to get more of this, because I'm going to insulate all of the hot water lines with this stuff. once we're all hooked up. Okay, here's what we're dealing with. The top is the heat pump part and the control. The bottom gray part is the tank. And there's electrical heater elements, top and bottom, as backup. And you got your drain valve at the bottom. Temperature and pressure relief right there. So we have to run a drain hose down. Cold water goes in there. Hot water comes out there. This is the condensate drain line for the heat pump part, which we will connect to the condensate pump. Got a bunch of 3/8 plastic tubing. I think we'll hook up this pump first. Get that out of the way. All right, I got some 3/8 tubing run along with the other piece of 3/8 tubing that was already there from the air conditioner, so that's good. It went out the same sleeve hole. I didn't have to drill a hole in the wall because that would have been a pain. Okay. Good. We'll hook up the temperature pressure relief valve drain line into that bucket. This came pre-assembled, so that's handy. It just screws in here, put it in a bucket. It's supposed to go in a floor drain. Don't have a floor drain, bucket's fine. This is only if it goes over pressure or over temperature, it'll blow off pressure. So I'm gonna cut this. Has to be within 6 feet of the floor, 6 inches of the floor. So obviously we've got to cut this, put it in, good to go. Okay, so we just want to hand tighten this. No Teflon tape, no sealant, no pipe dope. From here to here, 40 minus 6 is 34. So we'll cut this to 34. Hand tight. There you go. Also, $113 a year in electrical energy consumption, which is way better than $500, which most of those electrical water heaters cost to run. All right, next, connecting the cold water to the cold water supply. And we're going to use these fancy connector flexible hose things that are made just for water heaters to make our life a little easier. All right, let's try to film this and hold the camera and do the work. Take this off. Thought that was a cap at first. It's not. The other end is just a shark bite, press to fit deal, which works pretty good. So that's gonna be easy. Don't forget the Teflon tape like I almost just did. Give it a 2.5 to 3 wraps. Put this thing on here. Tighten. All right, put this on here. Put the ring on. Put this on here. Get our 1/8 to 1/4 inch gap and crimp it. Water line for the cold water is connected. Make sure you take the label off. This can go in either way. Make sure the O-ring is seated. Handy wrench they give you. And you don't want to crank it too much because you want to be able to get it off. You just want it so it's not going to leak. Okay, got all the plumbing finished. No leaks. At first I had a little tiny bit of a leak here on where these connections are. I guess it's because you're going from brass or bronze or brass to plastic, but there is a stainless steel thread in there, but I don't think I just had enough Teflon tape. So I pulled it off, rewrapped it, cranked it down there, and now it's fully under pressure. No leaks. Good to go. So now I just got to wire it. So I got to go to the store and get some flexible conduit so we can come out of there with our wire. That's the wire. That's the water heater wire. Come out of there with a whip, go up there, fasten it, and then there we go. We'll be done. So I've run my wire from, that's where we left it when we wired the place. Kind of temporarily have it clamped just to make sure my run is going to reach. And we're going to put this thing together now. So kind of goes like that when it's all assembled. So I need to build this whip for this plate, which goes onto the heater. So I have a 90-degree little fitting for my flex conduit. You got to put this in conduit, I guess, code-wise, at least until you get up into where your ceiling will be. So this fits together like yay. I bought a roll of 25 feet of half-inch flex conduit because the electrical supply house was closed. Yesterday was Sunday, but Lowe's was open. At the supply house, I can buy it by the foot. I only really need like 8 feet, but I'm sure I'll find a use for an extra bunch of this in another project. So we're gonna have to try to straighten this out. Usually you can lay it out in the sun when it's warm out, and it kind of helps straighten it, but we don't really have that right now. It's starting to cool off finally this time of year. So I'm just going to feed this all the way through until I get up into the ceiling. Now you can buy a whip kit that has all the guts without the wire, but they only come in 6-foot lengths. So we're just making our own. All right, I had 2 coils of wire here. One is for the water heater. This one that's remaining is for the well pump. So I ran my water heater wire, put it into some flex conduit, and here we are. So now we're going to make up this end, cut the flex, and hook it up. Okay, everything's done. Unfortunately, my microphone died while I was shooting the footage of connecting the wiring. So there's a couple of those segments I can't use, but here is the footage. Basically, you hook the black wire to the black wire, the red wire to the white wire, the ground wire to the unit. Put that little 90-degree elbow, lock it down in there, put your screws back on your plate, cover it up, and that's all there is to it. And I did get the wire for the well pump. I went ahead and used the rest of the flex conduit that I had left, got that get ready to rock and roll, and it's ready to wire up. Once we turn the power on, or get ready to turn the permanent power on, we'll wire that up, get it off the generator, put it on the grid power. But that's how you hook up an A.O. Smith hybrid electric heat pump water heater. We are not going to fire it up yet because, like I said, we've got guys outside using this well system. Everything's pressurized to there. And once we get all of our fixtures in, the sinks, the commodes, everything else that uses water, then we'll pressurize it, we'll fire it up, turn it on, and we'll show you that process when we get to it. And then we'll probably do another review after 6 months just to see whether this thing's actually worth the money and whether it does a good job or not. So the other plan I have, one of the reasons I got this is because A, it uses $113 a year in electricity versus $500 and some a traditional electric water heater uses. Secondly, once we move our solar array up to the house or re-pipe it to come to the house, we're going to eventually put a secondary or a primary water heater here, just an old tank where we probably replace the heating element with a DC element, and we use that as a dump load, which is once your batteries are charged in the morning or in the daytime, there's no more use for that electricity really other than running your regular loads. So any extra power that those panels are producing after the batteries are charged, we'll have it dump that power into the other water heater and basically keep a free hot water tank set up, and that'll feed into this. And if this gets water that's already hot, it's not going to need to run, so maybe we'll be in a really good spot there energy wise and backup wise. So 1 is none, 2 is 1, all that stuff. So that's kind of the overall plan, and that's going to do it for this video. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.